much going at one time. Did we lose internet?
No, I hear you.
Can hear you, just not the music.
It says you're live on YouTube.
It kicked me off the internet on my iPad, which is really inconvenient. Father, I just asked you, please let us go through this with no trouble. This ragtag up.
Restore us again, cause your face to shine, return to us, oh God, we shall be saved, we shall be saved. Restore us again and cause your face to shine. Turn to us, oh God, and we shall be saved. We shall be saved. The vine you call heaven, come and visit your vine. Restore us again, cause your face to shine. Turn to us, oh yeah. We shall sing, and we will sing again.
All right, you guys, one more song and then we'll get started. Here we go. We got Scott with us today. Yeah, puppy in the background. That's for you, Scott.
Hallelujah. Maker of the heavens and
Yahweh Shomrecha, Yahweh Tzilcha, Al Yad Yeminecha. Yom HaShemesh Lo Yakerka, Ve'oreach B'layla. Yahweh Yishmocha Mikol Ra, Yishmor et nafshecha. Yahweh Yishmor tzadcha u'vorecha.
Shalom, shalom. Welcome back to the Code Searcher. Here we are once again, you guys. All right, so I got several messages from you all about codes. A couple of you messaged me after the B video. When we're going to do codes? It's Friday on the Gregorian. It happens to be Abib 27, and we're doing codes today. We have Scott with us, and we're going to try to focus on some Yeshua codes, Turin, Shroud of Turin kind of stuff. And there's a couple of students who are going to share. So just sit back. If you're doing something, take a break and share in some of the codes with us. I think it will edify you and bless you. Yeshua codes always does that for me, by the way. They are the best. Confirming a divine hand. All right. So who do we want to go for? Who's going to go first? Who would like to start us off? Don't be shy. It's all right.
I will.
All right. Hands up. All right, you guys. Stay tuned. What are you working on, Jan? Can you tell us?
I've shown you my burial cloth.
Okay, so a shroud table.
Yeah, and I want to just refresh what I found before, and then
Okay.
I found a lot more of
Awesome.
that, as long as I
Ever
get
had a share screen? Here we go. All right, here we are.
you can see this.
We can.
Why is it gone like this? Okay, well, this is the first table that I've shared with the class before. It's not very big, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
Affirmation, Jerusalem, Isaiah, and it's actually in the book of Isaiah, 38, chapter 38, verse 22 to 40, verse 29. We're at a skip of 95.
And what's our access term? Actual access term is what? Burial cloth?
Burial cloth.
Burial cloth. Okay.
Yeah, and that it's there in the red. And so we had testimony, witness, light, Yahuwah, conquered death here, nail, spike, Yeshua, or confirm, scourge, imprint, certifying there in the red, Jacob, Israel, hidden there. And I was really excited when I found this, radiation there in the yellow, and fulfillment there, spear, forensic as well there. I couldn't find Turin, but I found Italy. Now to go on to this one, that's better. Now this is exactly the same matrix. See, there's burial, and there's cloth goes across, as in a cross. So, and it's the same Isaiah 38, 22 to 40, 29. But all these new words I found on top. So I couldn't put them all on because it'd be about 3 foot by 3 foot. So iniquities, anah, afflicted. Now I've actually written down all the Strong's Concordance numbers for these two. So we've got despised and rejected here, Gareth. Drive out, cast out, despised and rejected. Wounds, I've got bruised, as in crushed. And I've got bruised down here, spelt differently, as in wound. So by his wounds, we are healed. It was almost sounding like he was going to start quoting Isaiah 53, which is quite strange, actually. It has Isaiah here. Crucified, that's a different spelling. It's Strong's 3363, your car, dislocated, alienated, impaled, depart, hang up, stricken, there, tomb, mended, the cloth was mended, it was scorched in the fire, healed, Rapha, and healed there too. Transgressions, so we are healed from our transgressions by this act, blood, Yeshua. Now this was interesting. I don't know if you've heard or how true it is, but they say that the veil that covered his face, the napkin, but it probably wasn't called a napkin, was folded up and left away from the cloth. And I found these words as well, where it says face, the hafach, veil, head cover, folded, and it's a sign that he's coming back. Apparently, if the Jews' customs in those days was if they just put the cloth down, it meant they'd finish their meal. But if they folded it, the plates weren't taken away because it meant that they were going to be coming back to finish their meal. So I'm hoping that that's what this means with his cloth, the face cloth being folded and left. And that's when I think that was another sign. They knew that it was a sign for them, for the disciples when they came to the tomb. So there's radiation. I had to highlight that again because I was so amazed. Sacrificed, chastisement, forensic, and lamb. I'm finished.
That's amazing, Jan. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Yeah, especially about the cloth being left folded.
Have we heard about that? Yes.
I have heard that.
I like the forensic and the scientific terms are that's radiation. I think that's so compelling. That's great.
Right. Very good, Jan.
Thank you.
You know how to stop share?
All glory and honor to Yahuwah. Thank you.
Right. Amen. Amen. All right, who's next? Okay. Did you want to try to share, Neptune? Is she still here? All right, here we go.
Okay. I have different color for different things that it's the main thing is Yeshua Shemi, right in the middle. It's Yeshua Shemi.
Yeshua is my name, is the access term, you guys.
Right. And then different colors are designating different things about him. Like this purple here designate about crucifixion. And I only typed, or whatever you call it, the word zalot. And here it is, the word zalot. And the O and zalov, right here.
Right.
Which means crucified. But then
Okay.
right after I typed it right on the same line, there are all these different things that I see.
Okay,
And
can I explain to you so the people, Neptune has a slight accent, you guys, because she's Persian. Okay. All right. So she has found zalot, which is the crucifixion. That was an ELS access term. And what she did was she looked between the letters in the straight line. And what she noticed was there was actually something there that continued on that had zalot encoded there. So that's what she's talking about now. So please continue.
and underneath it, I also find it says Zerurot Kesef means a bundle of silver, which,
Bundle of silver, which, you know, you guys know what that means,
yes,
right?
he was told for the bundle of silver to be crucified. And then right on that line, it says Zal-Av, which means cross. And then it says Hanol, which means a wooden loom, you know. And then it says Yisa means carry. Na means please. And then it says Behushov, which means seated. See, carry it, please, na, na, and va, seated, and seated, okay? And that's what I found for crucifixion. And then I found all these different, right? And then I found this thing about the yellow is about the shroud, shroud of Turin.
Tell them what that says.
Excuse me?
Tell them what that says. Tell them what that says across there.
Right. I typed on the program the word Turin, which is Tet Vav Resh N, Turin. Then with the same numbers, I went backward and I went forward. And look what it says. It says my death. Aleph, see, Tamat, my death. And then the word Aleph. Aleph, if you look in a Google Translate or anything, as a noun, it would mean hi-fi, or you could say selfie. So it would be my death selfie, a Turin, again, Turin.
Yeah,
Right.
we see the resh. Mhm.
Right on the yellow N. Again, you see Aleph, and then it says Kev, and Kev means is a still, it's a crutch, is a selfie crutch. So my dead selfie of Turin is a selfie crutch. So that's when I typed Turin with a tip. Then I went and typed Turin with a tav, just right here. See, tav, resh, ein, and n. And when that is amazing, then I followed the same line, as you could see, it's the same line, and then I get the word adush. Adush is a chemical word which means, like for example, if you add a base to an acid, you get some kind of salt or something. You know, it's none of the. You don't see the acid, neither do you see the base. You see the result of it, what was left. And the next word that I found that is really the most amazing thing that I could say is glory, which where did I wrote that? Which means betodo. If you, this is adush, then I go the same distance on the yellow, you would see be, tet, atav, be, to, go in the yellow, dalet, vav, and then aleph, which means glory, which means glorification. So it would be whatever is the chemical reaction that would be caused from his glorification that would be left. So that's what's in Turin, and that was really amazing to me. And then the blue is about his divinity. And up here, I have the word Ne-Alad, which means Ne-Allah, which means supreme, which means whatever, elevated, whatever. But the highest elevated, supreme. And then down here on the blue, of course, here it says Elohim, Anochi means, you know, I'm Elohim. And then down here on the blue, it's amazing, which says Yamei, which means fleet, my fleet. And then it says Lom, which means like somebody that stands by or slumbering. And then it says Bezophon. Bezophon means in hiding. And then it says Keor, as light. So his fleet is slumbering hiding as light. And then over here, it tells you why he was crucified, which really is something. He was crucified because he wants to, mot means yoke, neshech means, you could say usury or any kind of slavery to me, because usury is slavery. And then it says yakiv, to put away, to shut out. And then this is green is his occupation, what he's doing right now. One of the things that he's doing, he's putting his word in our mouth. And when he puts his words in our mouth, he makes us a candle. Our spirit is the candle of the Lord, makes us candle of life, life candles. And that's what it says. It says here in the yellow, it says medamat. Medamat means simulating. Fitot means ventriloquist. Okay. Fitom means ventriloquist. That's this part. Fitom.
Right.
And then it says right here, it says mela'aka means craft or occupation. See, mela'aka means craft or occupation. Nar means light. Chaim means life. Makes us crafts us into lamps of light. I mean life. Instead of lamp of light would be the light, lamps of life. Giving life, because his word in our mouth is life. And then here it tells us, it just over here is like, it says his throne is masked or veiled, and is like faint. Okay, and then it says that, and he comes back to open eyes. Fetach, open eyes. And this, and the green is all his work. And over here it says this is really amazing. It says that Feni means it's leisure time or spare time. He is a communicator mighty. See that communicator, which is Meba'en, is communicator Oz, which means mighty, is right here. I didn't, this whole thing here is only a little bit of the book of Genesis. Is Genesis 27:41 to Genesis 43:3. Sometimes I get, when some people don't believe that the Bible is actually the word of God, I feel like taking something and writing every of these letters and showing them this right here. Because if it wasn't the word of God, how could all this thing about Yeshua Shemi show up in one little place?
Right. That's my whole point to the world, Neptune.
Exactly.
Is how is it mathematically impossible for this to appear?
The total impossibility. All this sentence that goes with it. And some of them I couldn't even color, because then it would be too much. Like, for example, look at that. Le-ish means lion. So
he's the lion. That's right. Right.
Le-ish means lion. So means lamb. And then look at here, leish, and then go up means res. Res means secret, like res is a secret, what's the
mystery.
Right?
Right, you're right. It's a mystery.
Mystery, that's it.
Yeah.
Isn't that something? I mean,
it is
there, and just keeps on going. It's just amazing.
Neptune has a little advantage. She's Persian Jewish, and so she's been able to see these extensions, and that's what it is. And this is really cool, because she's such a new student. This is amazing that she's already figured out the extensions, the prefix and suffix of any kind of anomaly, right? What's in front of it and what's behind it. when you find a word, you might find something that connects it, maybe a sentence, it may be a phrase, it may be pointing to something. And so that's how she has found these very long anomalies, you guys.
And this is amazing. Up on top of it is Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And whenever it comes to Jacob, Jacob and Rachel are together, but Leah was falling down here, and there was so much I didn't want to just go on.
Right.
So you couldn't see that. And it's very amazing. Over here, I tried to look for the linen cloth that the priests used to wear, which is Shesh Mesh Zor. And I found Mesh Zor, and Shesh was right underneath it.
That's amazing. Very good, sister. Thank you, Father, for Neptune. Yeah, she is very knowledgeable. She's very smart, you guys. She is the first female graduate from MIT in her field, which is ocean engineering. So I'm so thankful and thrilled that she's with us. She's retired and has time to do this. And it's been a blessing to everyone to see her thrive. It's amazing.
By the way, lots of words I didn't want to include because it would get too much. Like, for example, right here it talks about being despised. It's there,
right.
But I didn't want to talk about it. But and if I go even up with that, it says despised, and then it goes, they're going to scan for poor.
Right.
Goes right
despised by many. Isaiah 53, right? So there's all these details in here about Yeshua and other things. This is not just about Yeshua. There's other codes that are, that looks like Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob is involved in this.
That's right. Everything is just, everything that had to do with him is all over here.
Right.
And just the way it was, as I said, Jacob right here goes with Rachel, doesn't go with Leah. Leah is all the way out here by himself. And it's amazing. And it tells you exactly the family that he's on. This is Uncle Laban, the son of, what's his name? I forgot his name, Betuel, and brother of Rebecca. Is all right here. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and so on. And everybody is right here. So.
You remember what the skip is on this? Did you say it 95?
This is in Genesis. Genesis. Let me just. It's because I took it from one place to another place. Just Genesis 27:41 to Genesis 43:3, and the skip is 1367.
1367. Very small still. Yeah.
And it's just Genesis 27 to Genesis 43. That's like nothing.
Right. It's very small area. This is a Torah code.
Right. Right. Oh. Just everything is in one place. It's really, I don't know. As I said, I would write it down myself and do it to show everybody, hey, listen, the Bible is the word of God, does not contain. It is. Came right out of Yeshua.
Hallelujah. All right. You remember how to stop share? There you go. All right. Who's up next? Thank you, sister. That was awesome. Does anyone want to go next?
I have the two tables. I've shared them with the class twice already, but we haven't done them on YouTube, so everybody else has seen them.
Yeah, let's see.
Whoops. Let's see. Hold on a second. I'm trying to find the option to share the sound, and it's because I have a video and a couple of videos in one of them. So when I play the video, if you can't hear the video, then let me know, okay? So the first one is the Yeshua Mashiach. It is found at a skip of 3,316, and it's in the book of Numbers. So Yod Rashwa means they are shooting or they would shoot. Found right here above Yeshua Mashiach. And then in him is Betwa. So there's in him. Then Het Besh Bet Yod is hide you, and it is found only in this verse in Isaiah 26:20, where it talks about go, my people, enter your chambers and close the doors behind you, hide but a little moment until the menace shall pass. So that's up here at the top, hide you. And then Bet Yod is in me. So within hide you, it says in me. And then Bet Yod Tov is house of. So hide you in me, house. And then when is Mem Tav Yod. And here's when they would shoot. So you have, basically you have hide you in me, house, when they would shoot Yeshua Mashiach in him. So this is a prophecy in Genesis, and I shall set enmity between you and the woman, and between your seed and her seed. He shall hurt you in the head, and you shall hurt him in the heel. So there's seed of her. Seed of her shares the ion with Yeshua, and seed of her is right here. And then heel runs right across here. And son of Jesse is in a tight configuration right there. Then we have this prophecy in Genesis 49:10. The scepter shall not turn aside from Yehuda, nor a lawgiver from between his feet, until Shiloh comes, and to him is the obedience of the peoples. So you have scepter and Shiloh. And then here's another one that mentions the scepter. It's in Numbers. It says, I see him, not yet now. I regard him, yet not near. A star will position itself from Jacob, and a scepter will arise from Israel, and he will transfix the edge of Moab and the crown of the head of all the sons of tumult. So there's the word for star and from Israel. So there's the axis term. And then you have scepter coming up and Shiloh above it. They both share the shin right there.
Share the shin.
And then Israel crosses Shiloh, and star goes from Shiloh through Yeshua. And Israel is in the plain text under the access term. Then the Mashiach is up here, and son of David crosses where the scepter and Shiloh come together, and then son of David runs through that, and Yeshua and star. Then we have Judah and Jew and Yeshua in between them. So in Genesis 14:18, it says, and Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the priest of the Most High El. So Melchizedek is like a foreshadow of Yeshua, the Messiah. And we know that the bread and wine have significance, and the priest of the Most High El would be the priest supreme. So the priest is in the plain text touching Mashiach, and then supreme or most high is in a close configuration right here. And then behold, the days are coming. Avering is Yahweh, when I will contract a new covenant with the house of Israel and the house of Judah. So we have new covenant, Brit Hadashah. And this shares the Shin with Yeshua, and covenant shares the Yod with Mashiach. Then here's the wine and the bread that we were talking about a minute ago. And we have the bread, the bread, and wine. And then I will remember my covenant with Jacob, and also my covenant with Isaac, and my covenant with Abraham shall I remember, and the land shall I remember. So we have the covenant of Isaac, and this is actually the verse that runs through here. It's in the plain text. My covenant with Isaac is right there. And then Abraham answered, Elohim, he shall see for himself as to the flockling for the ascent offering, my son. And the two of them walked on together. So this is basically saying that Yahuwah will provide himself a lamb. So Elohim, he shall see for himself the flockling. There's for himself the flockling, and he shall see. And then Elohim and the he lamb. A flawless flockling, a year-old male shall you come to have. From the he lambs and from the goats you shall take it. So here's flawless, which basically means without blemish. Hard pressed is he, and he is humbled, yet not opening his mouth. Like a flockling to slaughter is he fetched. And as a ewe before his shearers is mute, he is not opening his mouth. So one being humbled as flockling to slaughter, he is fetched. We have all of those terms right here. We have flawless, the he lamb, one being humbled as flockling, to fetch, to slaughter. Speak to the sons of Israel, saying, in case any man of you or of your generations becomes unclean by a dead soul or is on the road afar, he will also prepare a Passover to Yahuwah. So this is the phrase right here, and it runs in the plain text. Right here, on the road afar, he will also prepare a Passover to Yahuwah. So is far away on a journey, he shall still perform the Passover of Yahuwah. And that's in Numbers 9. The priest will take cedar wood, hyssop, and double dipped crimson and fling them into the midst of the burning place of the young cow. So this is when they are doing, I believe this is when they're doing the, what do you call it? Sanctification of the temple with the, I think, I can't remember. I have done so many tables in the last few weeks. So burning place of the young, anyways, here we go right here. Passover, and in the blood. And here's crimson and hyssop, and this is in the plain text. The priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet and throw them into the midst of the burning fire, the heifer. Oh yeah, that is the consecration of the temple. So it's amazing that that runs right below Yeshua HaMashiach, consecration of the temple. And then here is not all of the terms, but a lot of them on here. I didn't put everything on here. But let's see, covenant shares a bet with and in blood. So it's a blood covenant. And to fetch the Messiah, I thought that was pretty cool. So this is a lot of it put together. And this was, you can see almost everything was in numbers except for this plain text right here, my covenant with Isaac, and the end of the Hadashah for new in New Covenant, but everything else was in numbers. So that's that one. Then the other one was the Shroud of Turin.
It was awesome, Tracy. Very good. And very small area too.
Mm-hmm. So this is these are images from the Shroud of Turin. These images are taken from right here. And this is like I think it was like a computer generated, they did an improvement to the image. So you're supposed to be able to see it a little bit clearer. So in John chapter 20, it says, and on the first day of week, Miriam from Magdala came early to the tomb while it was still dark and saw that the stone had been removed from the tomb. So she ran and came to Shimon Kepha and to the other taught one whom Yeshua loved, and said to them, they have taken the master out of the tomb, and we do not know where they laid him. Then Kepha and the other taught one went out, and they were going to the tomb. And the two were running together, but the other taught one outran Kepha and came to the tomb first. And stooping down, he saw the linen wrappings lying, but he did not go in. And Shimon Kepha came following him and went into the tomb. And he saw the linen wrappings lying, and the cloth which had been on his head was lying, not lying with the linen wrappings, but folded in a place by itself. So that's exactly what Jan was saying about the face cloth being folded and placed neatly aside. So the access term was the linens of burial. So that's the linens of burial running right there, the access term. And then here's Turin. It actually goes up like that. Then we have Yeshua crossing both of them 2 times, and Yehoshua crossing right here in a very small skip. And then we have image goes from Turin to the linens of burial and touches in my blood. And that comes down across the linens of burial, and in my blood again goes over to the linens of burial from close to Turin. Then up here in the left corner, we have his face, and the plain text underneath it, it says with you. It shares the law right there. And then unleavened. And the verses that those are in are 1 Corinthians 5:4 and 1 Corinthians 5:7. It says that ye all assemble together in the name of our Yeshua Messiah, and I with you in spirit. So the with you is right there in that phrase, in spirit, together with the energy of our Yeshua Messiah. And then purge out from you the old leaven, that ye may be a new mass, and ye are unleavened. For our Passover is the Messiah who was slain for us. So when it talks about unleavened, it's actually speaking about the Messiah. This verse, flee whoring, every sin that a man does is outside the body, but he who commits whoring sins against his own body. That's in the plain text. So we have a man outside of the body, and the literal translation from the Aramaic is a son of man outside of his body. And that phrase runs right here under Turin and Yeshua, a son of man outside of his body. Then we have the verse, for you are bought with a price, therefore esteem Elohim in your body and in your spirit, which are of Elohim. So we have Elohim in your body and in your spirit, Leloha, with your body and with your spirit. And this is in the plain text right here. Leloha, with your body and with your spirit. And then in that same phrase, we have which are of Elohim, which are of the Loha. And that's in the plain text right here, which are of Aloha. Under Turin and image. And Yeshua comes down to it. And concerning maidens, I have no command from the master, but I give judgment as one whom the master in his compassion has made trustworthy. So we have the phrase, I command, and down here in the literal translation from the Aramaic, it says, I advise. But the word ana, which is used to mean I up here, is used to mean I am down here. And advice, malaka, down here, the exact same phrase is translated as the king. So when it says I advise, it means I am the king. And that runs right here. I am the king. And the king is right here. And then, and he, having bought fine linen, took him down, wrapped him in the linen, and he laid him in a tomb which had been hewn out of the rock, and rolled a stone against the entrance of the tomb. So we know that the tomb, he was put in the rock. So the word in the rock is right there, the phrase. So in the rock runs across the linens of burial and Turin, and in the rock runs across I am the king. And then we have the truth and the light. Light runs all the way up here, and the truth. So one of the gentlemen who was was an original member of the scientific team back in 1978. His name was Barry Schwartz. He was not a believer. He was an Orthodox Jew. So there's this video that you can look up on YouTube that has him talking, and I'm going to show you some of that right now. So if you have any trouble hearing it, then let me know, okay?
Thank you. Well, as you've heard, I was the official documenting photographer for the Shroud of Turin Research Project. Shroud of Turin Research Project was the first and only scientific team ever to be given permission to do an in-depth examination of the Shroud of Turin. Now, I have to tell you that I just finished a 6-week lecture tour, 3 states, 12 cities, 22 lectures, all of them 2 hours or more. Don was right, and I've never regretted taking his advice and staying on that team. Now, the tests we performed went on over the years that we did it and then evaluated it, went on to ultimately prove that the shroud was not a painting, not a scorch, or not a photograph. These were the kind of conventional wisdom things that people had. And so all the tests that we planned basically were to test for those kinds of things. At the end of our team, at the end of our 3 years, we published our work in peer-reviewed scientific journals, credible ones, I might add. Now with the internet, we have journals that are, the only thing they review is your check to make sure it clears. And they're not exactly a high standard as the ones that we had to deal with. But ideally, we went there to answer the question, how is the image formed? That was our primary purpose. And in the end, however, we could not determine an image formation mechanism that could make an image with the properties on the Shroud of Turin. Our collective work still forms the primary database of literature that exists in the peer-reviewed science that points to the authenticity of the Shroud of Turin. After years of actually resistance on my part, world-renowned blood expert Dr. Alan Adler, who was truly maybe the foremost blood expert in the world, and also Jewish, I might add, was on the phone with me, and he answered the final question that had kept me from accepting the Shroud as authentic. I was on the phone with him. I wasn't convinced the Shroud was real because the blood on the Shroud is still red. And old blood is supposed to turn black or brown, sometimes just within a matter of hours. And that really stopped me. Al then looked at me over the phone. He didn't look at me, but he spoke to me and he said, Barry, he said, I found this large amount of bilirubin in the blood. Now, somebody who's been tortured, like Jesus was, beaten the night before in the Garden of Gethsemane, then the next day scourged, and ultimately capped with a capper crown of thorns, ultimately crucified and speared. People who've been tortured that way usually go into shock. The liver floods the bloodstream with bilirubin, and Al told me that blood of that nature stays red forever. Suddenly and unexpectedly, I realized that the last bit of evidence had come in, and I had no choice but to accept that the Shroud was authentic.
So this gentleman, he was the photographer for the team, and he has his own website that he set up because there was so much misinformation being put out in like the National Enquirer and other news organizations. They were printing false information. So he decided to begin this website called shroud.com to put out all of the evidence that he had and any updates that he has. So this is the kind of stuff that's listed on his website. And he has like 100% of reproduction rights of all the photographs. The Vatican had granted him that privilege when they asked him to be on the team to examine the Shroud. And so you can get a lot of information from his website. So back here, they had an update on March the 4th. And that was they were doing a live broadcast around the world of the Shroud being on display. And that happened on April the 3rd at 5 p.m. I did not happen to catch that, but they had it on display. Yeah. And it happens to mention that the Shroud of Turin has been kept for almost 5 centuries. So we have
By the Catholic Church, by the way.
right.
Yeah.
We have his last name right here, Schwartz, and his first name shares the Resh with Schwartz, just like that. His name is in here in a couple of places. It's not in there with the first and last name together, but with either the first name and part of the last name or all of the last name. And Nicodem, I think that's Nicodemus, who at first came to Yeshua by night, also came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 100 pounds. And they took the body of Yeshua, bound it in linen wrappings with spices, and as was the habit of the Yehudim, for burial. And at the place where he was impaled, there was a garden, and in the garden a fresh tomb in which no one had yet been lain. There, then, because of preparation day of the Yehudim, they laid Yeshua because the tomb was near. So Nicodemus brought 100 pounds of myrrh and aloes, which is a huge amount. So I looked up myrrh, and the tomb is right here, and of myrrh crosses the Turin and the linens of burial. And his body also crosses myrrh and the tomb and the linens of burial. Then we have this video on YouTube, which is, I'm going to play you a little bit of that right now.
Well, hello, everyone. I'm David with TheCodeSearcher. We are very pleased today to present to you Andrew Silverman. Dr. Andrew Silverman is a medical doctor with a background in physics. He has been studied at Shroud, Turin for...
Sorry. I was going to scroll that up. I can move it forward.
Been studied at Shroud, Turin for over 30 years, and he'll be with us on the Alabrosa online events this Sunday, January 31st, beginning at 10 a.m. Pacific time. A recording will be made for ticket holders. It's going to have a Q&A at the end of the session, and Dr. Silverman's going to go into his research on both artificial intelligence and its relation to the Shroud, quantum physics, and near-death experiences. This is going to be quite a special event. And Dr. Silverman, if you'd like to let people know what they can hope to learn and take away. Thank you.
Certainly, thank you. Yes, thank you for inviting me. Well, I first became interested in the Shroud in the 1980s. I saw a documentary where it was shown that it seemed that it was consistent with having been the actual burial cloth of the historical Jesus of Nazareth. And fascinating thing about the image upon the shroud is that a team of scientists, many of them from NASA Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Los Alamos, went to study the image in the 1970s. They were expecting to as they put it, to find the brushstrokes and go home in 5 minutes. But actually they found that they couldn't account for how anyone could have manufactured that image on the cloth. And this team of physicists and other scientists and other researchers found that the only way that they could understand how such an image could have formed on the cloth was by a short, intense burst of radiant energy that appeared to have come from the dead body that had been wrapped in the shroud. Now, I was very young when I watched that video, but it stuck with me.
So the point is that there was a burst of bright light, and I think some other research or videos where they mentioned that it's like the light from the sun. So I found the sun in a palindrome at the top. So it goes in one direction and then it goes the same way in the opposite direction. And they share the shin, mem, shin. And then right under the sun, it says Mashiach. Now, some are puffed up as though I were not coming to you, but I shall come to you shortly if the master desires, and I shall know not the word of those who are puffed up, but the power. So we have soon shall come I to you. And that runs right at the top here. Soon shall come I to you. And then we have of the carpenter.
Oh, wow.
Runs through the axis term. In my blood, it is finished.
Yes.
And then he has risen in my blood again. And he has risen is right here. And Mashiach is again down here. And Elohim, who raised up the Master, shall also raise us up through his power. Aloha, but even our Lord has raised.
Amazing.
And that runs right here. Aloha, even our Master has raised up, runs right through the linens of burial.
That's Ramsel method all day long, you guys. I mean, incredible detail.
Right. And this is everything, all of the previous terms put together. And this is where it was all found in 1 Corinthians, in about 4 chapters of 1 Corinthians. And the odds of this matrix are too many for me to be able to read. I don't know numbers that high.
Yeah. Keeps digging. Aloha is the singular of Elohim. Did you know that?
Nope, I didn't know that.
It is. Aloha.
I know that y'all had said that when y'all say aloha in Hawaii, it is his name.
It is his name. It's a version of his name. You know, Elohim is a very general Hebrew word, you guys. It does not mean little God. Okay. You're not a little God like Kenneth Copeland and some others out there on YouTube are telling. That's not what that means. Elohim is very general. Elohim can mean a messenger. And by the way, a human being who comes in the name of the Father as a emissary, it can be an Elohim because you're coming in the Father's name, just like Yeshua. Yeshua would be like Mashiach Elohim, right? He comes in his Father's name, in the power of his Father as a representative, all right? So it does not mean little God. Elohim is plural. It can mean, you know, mighty ones, but Eloah is singular, and that is specifically the Father. It just so happens to be the Hawaiian word or for greeting, and it's like saying shalom in Hebrew. It's used quite frequently. Aloha. It's the Father's name, a version of it. It's amazing. Incidentally, and I learned this from Eric Bissell, the word Hawaii, one way is referring to the state, but if you pronounce that phonetically in reverse, it's Yahuwah. So that's pretty amazing to me. His name is a strong tower, right? Hallelujah. So thank you for that, Tracy. That was amazing.
My privilege.
Who's next? Who wants to share codes next?
I guess I can
Yeah, man.
go. Unless
Scott's
anybody
got some-
else.
You're good, brother. Scott has got some amazing
yeah.
codes on Yeshua and Turin and things like that. So
Well, yeah, I mean, with the Turin, concerning the Shroud of Turin, in the handful of years that I've been doing this, well, if you remember last year, we had Russ Brialt on, and
right.
I had shared that Shroud of Turin code in the Aramaic Peshitta, which I'm going to show here in a minute. But what I really love about the Shroud story is that, you know, as you saw, like every forensic scientist that examines the Shroud is just left scratching their head.
Right.
They cannot explain its composition. They cannot explain how it got there. And from what Sister Tracy had just shared, they deduced that it was caused by light. And just go ahead and start sharing the screen here. Now, let's see. Can you guys see the annotation?
Oh yeah, we can see it.
Okay, this is the annotation that I had shared last year. I believe this was January sometime. I believe Yeshua revealed this to me sometime shortly before this. It went up shortly afterwards, and what what you're looking at is the Aramaic Peshitta and the Galilean Aramaic, which means it's basically it's Aramaic, but it's using the Hebrew construct. It's what they would have been reading in that region in Galilee. Now, I have it pulled up on the program right here, so we can go ahead and just review it together. This is the term right here, shroud. It's at a skip of -17. When I say negative, it means it's just going backwards in the text. It's tau, kaf, resh, yod, kaf, and that's the word for shroud. And we're just going to go ahead and read where that is. And there was a garden in the place where Yeshua was crucified, and in the garden a new sepulchre in which no person had ever been laid. And they bore away the body of Yeshua and bound it in the linens. There it is. It's talking about the shroud. Aromatics, as is the custom of the Yehudim the bury. So this word right here is the word for the linen wrappings. Kaf, tau, nun, aleph, ketana in the Aramaic. And the kaf just so happens, in the final kaf, the kaf's the feet in the word shroud, just so happens to land in the word for linen wrappings. Now, what I'll typically do is with a code like this that you can visibly count the letters, the skip at a short space horizontally like this. Now, typically what I'll do with short codes like this is I'll center them in the screen, and I'll utilize the program to adjust my page width if I need to, and I'll just start looking for terms. I mean, I see some of the other students doing this as well. This is a methodology that I adapted by watching Ann's codes, is looking for the vertical terms that are at the page width. And what you'll see here is this long term here is the word for my time, and this term right here, the resurrection. The time of my resurrection. And then again here, you'll have the linen wrappings going right through that term. Right here is this word sudera, which is the face cloth. Up here in the plain text, you'll have Turin. Now, it's amazing that it's right in the plain text. And in the Aramaic, what this word means is praetorium, which would be like Pilate's personal quarters. He went again into the praetorium, and he said, Yeshua, whence art thou? And Yeshua, so this is when he's talking to Pilate. This word Turin, which happens to be the same spelling of the town Turin in Italy. It's right here in the plain text. It's amazing. But over here, you'll have this vertical term. It's or, which is light, and obri, which either means Hebrew, but it also means I crossed over. I don't have it highlighted, but the preceding extension on this is atan, which means I shall give. I shall give the light of my crossing, the time of my resurrection. This is Yod, which is hand, and Adonai, our Lord or our Master. The hand of the Master has done this. All right, the light of my crossing. And now we have an explanation. I mean, the Shroud of Turin in and of itself is an incredible witness. Now we have a Bible code in the Aramaic Peshitta, in the apropos text, explaining what happened.
Right, another witness.
I mean, it's just, I mean, like I said, by itself, it's just incredible. Now we're experiencing in real time the intent purposes of Bible codes. I mean, people ask you questions sometimes. Well, what's the purpose? I mean, that's all cool and all. Well, here you go. Here's the intent of why our Heavenly Father has encoded the word, even in the Aramaic Peshitta, where, you know, when I came into this, there were other students that were already kind of had gone off into searching codes and the Peshitta and just coming up with just amazing results. And, you know, right around the time that you really started talking about Ramsel method and its importance, this code comes up. It's just incredible. This year I thought was really cool term. This is Mela, which is fullness. And this word cassette, which is calf, stomach, tau, I believe that means quilt. And then I ran it through the translator, and this is what it says: full of quilt, or I suppose you could say a full quilt. Now, the shroud is a burial cloth, but still a quilt is a garment of some kind or what have you. And to me, that just sounds really profound, very apropos for where it's found in the coding. And anybody who wants to reproduce this, you can go get this program here, Code Finder. You could go right here to John and set the page width at 119 letters. So what that means is that every row of letters you see here, there's 119 letters. And this is what it will look like. This is the result that you'll see. And this isn't even all of it. I mean, there's so much here. Yeah, here you have it.
There's usually lots of detail. This is very streamlined and made very simple, but it's profound even in that form.
Sure, I wanted to leave the most important details here. I mean, just the fact that the word shroud is encoded in John 19 verse 40 through 41, where it's talking about the linen wrappings. It's just like, wow, when Yeshua reveals things like this to me, sometimes I just have to get up and walk away and scratch my head for a little while.
Right. This is the word verifying itself. The Bible verifies itself, you guys. It's not just a book of myths and legends and made up stories. This is mathematically impossible. So you can't have the story and the evidence in the plain text and then in the encoded text, all the details. It's incredible. I mean, it's multifaceted.
Yes.
This proves a divine hand. This is like no other book on the planet.
So what I hadn't found some of the other terms when I ran this annotation, and when I pulled it back up in the program, and started looking for more terms, I mean, and scanning the text visually, I see this: the light of my crossing. You have the cause and effect here of what left the image on the shroud, and your answer, yes. It was just a moment, a flash of bright, strong light, I believe.
Radiation, yeah.
Yes, a radiant force like no other. And there you have it. And
you know what's really cool in the forensics, that once we entered into the digital era, the 3D imagery that can be reproduced, because what the image does is not just a photo negative or negative of a photo or have that effect. It's also got encoded in the shroud the 3D imagery that's needed to reproduce, what the form, that if it was over someone, then it should have the shape and form, right? And it does. And when they realized this, when they could see this, this was really profound, because now this was showing this was indeed, something that wasn't created by an artist. This was created by an amazing event, probably the greatest event in history, right? The resurrection of Yeshua. He come back after he conquered the cross, and he left. Russ Briault says it's like a receipt. It's evidence. He left it so there could be no denying. And by the way, that's the whole point of the enemy, is to hide these things, obscure it, make it seem like it's fantasy and made up stories, right? But someone had the forethought, and I think it was the Ruach HaKodesh, that caused people throughout the history of this fabric to preserve it, because it was in private hands all the way up until 500 years ago. Again, that's around the time they changed the name, right? It's when the name Jesus came about 500, Martin Luther's time. the Vatican gets a hold of it. So it's been in the Vatican's hands for 5 centuries, right? It was in private hands before that. So it's been preserved for a reason, because it's a testimony. That's why. And it's fascinated me since I was a kid, you guys. So this is one of my favorite subjects.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. I mean, how could it not be? I mean, and like I say, I mean, it was completely stifled, the scientific community. And if you listen to the arguments that are raised up against the Shroud of Turin, you could tell that they come with complete bias. They're completely biased arguments. You know, they went through a fire, and the radiocarbon dating, which is completely unreliable.
Flawed. Radiocarbon dating is flawed.
Yes.
It's not accurate at all.
There's more evidence.
Yeah.
No, I was going to say there's more evidence that stacks up in its favor rather than against it, and they know it.
They took the sample from the mended piece of cloth.
So, yeah, it's just a real honor, just a real joy to be able to share this one. It's just a super important witness. So that's what I have. Thank you for having me. I've got to get going. But I really appreciate you having me on, brother, and it's really encouraging to see everyone here and just doing great work. Appreciate everybody out there in the chat. Love you all. Hope everybody's doing well, and shalom.
Shalom, brother. All right, let's see. I did find I got a PDF. This is something that when I worked on it, it's been a while back. What's the date on this? It doesn't have a date. So this is probably 2014, something like that. I worked on this. So it's the covering of Turin, a face record, a pretty long anomaly. 7033 is the width, and it's right in the middle of a couple of places. And I don't have this on file anymore, you guys. By the way, that computer was destroyed by hackers. So all I have is this PDF. I have to go and recreate this to get this back. But luckily, Lewis saved it in a PDF form, and he annotated for me. So this is not my work annotating. This is his. Passover, right in the middle of 2 mentionings of Passover, right? And then look what the vertical anomaly right next to that is, rose up early, and with Yeshua's name right above that twice on itself, Yeshua. Right. Also got resurrection that runs down this way. The grave, son of Joseph in the plain text. Hidden sacrifice with, Yeshua's name. Look at this. Look at the connections here. Yeshua's name with image, right? Hidden sacrifice. And then Mashiach in the same line sequence as Yeshua, right? Where that yod starts there. It's a witness. He was put to death, right? Image right there. Witness on either side. Joseph of Arimathea connecting to witness. How about that? What else we got here? Scourged. Face of El. Penuel is here with Joseph. And of course, crucified. That's up there. So several anomalies here. And I don't even know how to reference where this is, you guys, because I don't have it on file. I'll have to go and redo this this table to see where the scriptures are. But I think this is earlier up in the text in certainly in the Torah, because we've got the Passover very close proximity, and that's my recollection of it. That's where it is. So also the face. Is it? No, what is that? What has he got in the face there? I don't know. I think that's a mistranslation, Lewis. Can't see that letter under Yeshua, but that doesn't, I don't think, well, it might be. Can I? Yeah. The face, it might be. Anyway, so that's an old one. And then a more recent one is this one that I've been working on here recently. That is the face in the cloth is what it is. Face in the cloth. And then it's a, there is blood is in the red. There is blood and to be revealed. There is blood to be revealed. We've got Mashiach vertical here with the word. And then Netzlav, which is crucified. Yeshua is here like 3 times. Yahushua, actually, which is Joshua, more translated to Joshua. Netzlav's here a couple times. Mashiach is down here. And of course, this is probably a lot more here. This is not obviously not finished. I haven't even really focused in on the plain text and see what scriptures are here, except for one. Isaiah 53 does run through the top there, as you can see here on the side, 53. So the very top of the code is where Isaiah 50 is the last part of Isaiah 53, first part of 54 that runs through here, right through here. Look at that covenant of peace. That's what Yeshua come to bring us, right? Here's his name, vertical, connecting with the Holy One of Israel. That's all I have on that one. So I can't see the chat here in now. So if you've been chatting in class, yes, and sure. We don't have to, it's not all about Yeshua codes. First Nations, that's a good subject if you want to share that. Anne's with us today, you guys. It's always good to see her work.
There we go. Shalom.
Hello.
Okay. See if I can make this a little bit bigger. I had to do this one in 2 parts because there were so many relevant terms and I didn't want to have it all too busy and cluttered.
Right.
I still am not done. I don't have my presentation ready. So this is, a raw format here.
That's fine.
So, okay. So here we have the firstly or the first nations. And so it's in 2 words here, but they're both at the same skip of 6,790. So here is the first, and here is, oh, sorry, it's going up, sorry. It's going up vertical, and then nations is going up here. And let's see, I've got some terms grouped together. We also, this is ancient here in this brown. And when the whatever the white man came over, sorry, it's like, what do I call them? The conquerors, when
Right.
they came over, they saw the native people as uneducated because they didn't read, they had oral traditions and thought that they were uneducated. And so I do have that word uneducated. Is it in this one? Yeah, it's in this green here. Oh, okay, that's intelligence. You see, the natives were very intelligent, super intelligent, even though they didn't have a written language. Let's see, uneducated, that's in the light yellow. Okay, here going down is uneducated. That's what the white man thought, but they were wrong about that. Now, some things about native people, some things that they're kind of known for, how they will chant and do their prayers, everybody's familiar with that. And that's right here beside peoples going down, chant or prayer. We also have fireplace. You know, they're always having the fires and telling their stories around the fire. Everybody has that image of them. We also have, you know, pine, as in pine trees. Like I'm over here. Well, most of us are here in North America, not everybody, but you know, there's so many pine trees here, and they live in the woods. And so pine is overlapping prophet here. So the pine is Aleph, Wa, Resh, Nun. And then prophet is Resh, Wa, Aleph, Hey. And they were prophetic too. I don't know if any of you have read Chief Joseph Riverwind's book. That's what the old ones say, I think it's called. But it's very interesting, the prophecies that some of the natives had about, you know, one of them is, or dreams, you know, one of them was about 3 big canoes coming, and they were bringing the talking leaves, and that was the Bible. But in the same prophecy, it says that there was going to be destruction, and, you know, so it was a twofold whatever. It was going to be a blessing. They were getting the word, but it was coming through, unfortunately, no offense, Catholic Church, but they didn't present the gospel. And it was tyranny. They ruled over. Anyways, I'm not getting into all that, but everybody knows the story. But it needs to be highlighted because it still hasn't been reconciled. I believe there's much to be done. And I think revival, you know, needs to break out, I believe, starting with the First Nations. Anyways, okay, so we also have in the light teal is circumcision. Some of the natives practice circumcision. Farmer is right beside it. They farmed and hunted, you know, that they taught the white man when they came over, you know, how to grow squash and corn and all sorts of food. We also have light is in the orange. That's not it. That's not it. Here it is. Light. They were given much light from the Creator, and they call him Creator. You know. So now going into. There are so many different tribes, like hundreds of different tribes throughout North America and into, you know, even South America that were conquered by the Spanish and Europeans. So classification, they all have their own, you know, their own tribe. And it's like Hebrews. I see a lot of correlation between Hebrews and natives. And we'll see a bit more about that in a minute. So here is classification going up. They're in their little groups. They know what tribe they belong to. We already looked at prophet. So now we're looking at some spiritual things. And I found it amazing. You know how they know the healing herbs and so many remedies? Well, 3 times we have something to do with healing. We have, let me find it. Okay, here is Raphael, the full spelling, and that is the angel of healing. And then we have Rapha here, which means physician. And then the other Raphael is here. It's a shortened version. This pink with the Resh, Pei, Aleph, Lamed. All right, now we're going into the kind of the negative part where the white man comes over. So the white man was an enemy. You know, they didn't come to be friends. They came to take over and, you know, get the gold and get whatever they could. And so enemy is there. Then we have curse here going up. Terror in the yellow going down. prisoner or captive here in the purple, right beside curse. Killing in the gray. We have two annihilation here, and it's Shua. It's the same word for Holocaust. Okay, that's a correlation to the Hebrews. So Shua here and here twice. To shame in this peach, which is interesting because it's 6 letters, you know, it's not just 4. You know, usually I try to have 5 letters or more when I'm doing my tables, but if it's a vertical term, I'm happy with 4 letters. But as you can see, there's 5 letters and 6, and this one here we didn't go over. This is defiance. So they defied. The natives didn't, you know, surrender easily. They had their warriors, and they were very proud people in a good sense. Here, that's a hay, but that is Haganah, and that's what the Jewish, you know, over in Israel, they called their defense people Haganah. There's also fierceness. That's 5 letters. You know, you think of a warrior, you know, with his face painted, you know, fierce, you know, just all this testosterone, you know, and a warrior, just a thing of beauty, actually, how they want to defend their homeland and their people. And then the last word in this one before we go to the other table is where? Oh, okay, black and white. There's remnant. Okay, and some people believe that some of the natives could even be descendants of Hebrews. I'm not sure what I believe with that. That's kind of an interesting concept. I wouldn't be surprised. So I'm gonna close this one. Let's see if I can do this. And go to numero 2. And it has almost the same amount of terms in it, but they're going vertical and diagonal. Some of them are going vertical if they're not the exact same skip as the access terms. Okay, so again, First Nations here. In the white here, this is beginning. Like they had their beginning here in North America. And then here is Rashun, which means first. So that's just kind of to reiterate the first part of the access term, First Nations. So the beginning, you know, Bereshit in the beginning, and Rashun. And then we have a lot of words up in this second line down here. There's the word peoples, starting with the ayin, mem, yod, mem, peoples. I'm not going to do the other words right now. I'm kind of I'm grouping them by themes. So something that natives are known for are canoes. And here is canoe in this teal, the plural for canoe. Ceremonial, back up to this line. You know, their dance, their dress, they have ceremonial meetings. And over to this purple yod, and it's sharing the shin and the mem and the yod. And this line here, I'm not done with this line. This is from Leviticus 11. And that's where it's talking about the unclean birds. And the natives, well, they don't eat unclean birds, but they use them as symbols. And this one that I've highlighted here is the owl. But also in this line over closer on this side, I haven't highlighted it yet, is the eagle and the raven. So these are birds that are very symbolic to the native people. And just above that, 2 lines above here in this yellow is a verse that's talking about, I think it's when you're doing offerings of birds, and it's talking about the feathers. And if you have ever seen their ceremonial dress, they have feathers, you know, just beautiful display of feathers. So what are the odds that, you know, the owl and the raven and the eagle and feathers would be right in this little window, you know, that's talking about the native people? And then let's see. Also, we have prophecy here in this blue going diagonal. Now we're going to go into about the Europeans coming over. Somewhere, okay, navigation. You know, that was, whoops, right. I'll make this a little bigger. Oops. Okay. So seafaring, and remember they had just learned to circumnavigate the world and go around by water. So navigation. Then we have immigration. In this, let's see, in this blue here. So the white people immigrated over here, and it spans across here in this line. Let's see, I think it's sharing that yod. And then this here is a hay. See, I have to go in. Whoops, where'd it go? Oopsies. Hang on. Okay, hang on, folks. Shouldn't be this hard.
No worries. You're fine.
Are you seeing all these different tables? There
Yes. Yeah.
we go. I have to go one more. Okay, there we are. Now, where were we? Okay.
How
so
are you able to cycle through all of those without stop share?
I don't know. That's neat to know I can do that, though.
Oh.
We're on a learning curve. Okay, yeah.
Hi, Anne.
Yes.
I need to ask you a question. Yesterday on Discord, I had seen where someone had asked about if anyone knew of something about any or anything or natural remedies for something that we all know about. I'm not going to say it.
Mhm.
And I remembered a table you had came up with. Anytime in the future you would want to share it or post it in Discord again.
If it was about remedies, it might have been someone else. I'm trying to think who that was, because I have not done a table about that, but I know that somebody did.
Okay. I thought it was you.
I don't think so. Was it Wendy? I was helping
This
somebody
was like a year ago.
I know I was helping somebody with a table. They were new to Keys to the Bible, and they were working on that to do with, yeah, the big V. Yeah.
Oh, no, it was not that.
No,
It
but to
was-
do with the virus, like how to heal from
Right.
the big
Okay.
C then. Do you want to call it the C? I don't know.
I didn't want to say that.
Right. It wasn't me.
Because
Yeah, I don't remember. If it comes to me, I'll let you know. What's your name again? I don't have that.
Robin.
Okay.
Just put it in Discord because it wasn't for me.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry for the big interruption. I didn't want to take that time up.
Oh, no problem. No, that's very timely, like, because it's relevant to this, you know, because I'm sure the First Nations have some keys to remedies, right? Okay, so let's see, now back to what I'm calling them Europeans. I don't like saying white man, but okay, we looked at immigration. Now we're going to look at let's see. I'm still not, I just newly did this in the last week, and I haven't actually looked at it for a few days, so where's armies? There it is. Okay, armies is in the plain text of scripture. So the armies came over, and they came with pretense. So pretense, that means you say one thing and you mean another, okay? They made covenants that they knew they were going to break. And they deceived. deceived is over here in this brown color in that same line up here. Okay. Swindling and cheating. Let's see. Is it this one? Okay, yeah, going up diagonal. We have warfare. Where is it in the table? Here it is here in the gray, going up diagonal. Look at that. It's kind of like the same kind of diagonal as this, but a double skip diagonal. See that? Cheating and warfare. Violence is in the black, going this way. And share, let's see, sharing the mem, and the wa and the ta. Destruction is here in the burgundy. Going over. And so the natives were dispossessed and they were taken to different places, or they were killed outright or taken into slavery, or so dispossession, that happened to the Israelites too, right? They were dispossessed. And here's the green going over this way to the Lamed. They were tortured in the orange here, crossing over first. Deprivation and denial. Color is that? It's pink. Oh, there's just so much. It's okay, so there's deprivation. You know, they were denied basic necessities. Pain, grief, suffering is here in the blue, going this way. And then children and parents were killed together. Children were not spared. Here's children. Here, sharing the Lamed in violence. Here, sorry, this is not a happy topic here, as you can tell by my tone. Parents is down a few lines, almost the same skip as children. Grievance here. It's okay, so it's going up vertical here. And then we have funeral here in this very dark brown, going this way. Despairing, it's where? It's peach. Here, right here, right above armies, in the peach, in the plain text. Okay, almost done, guys. Then we have guarding. So they, you know, the natives tried to guard their people, but they were overcome. And then we have Israel, because I just saw a correlation between them and the native people, how they've been wrongfully treated for generations. If you remember the other table, the word remnant was in it, and it's also in this one. It's in the mauve, sharit here. So I believe they're part of the remnant. And then now the good news, save the best for last, is revival and restoration. And this should be a hay here, hay, het, yod, aleph, hay. So I believe that the First Nations, that's my belief, and I think Chief Joseph Riverwind spoke about that too in his book, that the key to restoration in North America is making restitution to the First Nations and bringing the true gospel to the First Nations, and yeah, seeing more of them come into the kingdom. All right, any questions or comments before I shut her down?
You guys got any questions for Ann?
Okay, thanks for your patience.
Yeah, amazing topic.
Mhm.
That's a great table. Thank you, Anne.
Thank you. Praise Yah.
Got any more codes, you guys? All right, I think we're going to be wrapping it up here pretty soon. I want to thank everyone for presenting today. The YouTube community has been really hungry for some content on codes instead of just some, random video about bees. So thank you for sharing today. I want to thank Scott also for coming and hanging out with us. I know he's been very busy. He's very tired. So I'm glad he had some time for us today. Thank you, YouTube community.
Hey, Jonathan.
Yeah.
This has nothing to do with class, but I heard that the bees rest on the Sabbath day. Is that true, coming from someone who has bees? Have you ever noticed them on the Sabbath day trying to rest?
I haven't noticed the bees resting on the Sabbath, but I have noticed the other animals. The animals seem to be less active, laying around more.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'll pay attention. I'll go and look and check and see if they're less active or not. But it would make sense because I think all of nature is in sync and in certain kind of rhythm that you was established.
Thanks.
Yeah. All right, you guys. Until the next time, we'll see you again, probably before the end of the week. It is, by the way, if you're keeping up, it is Abib 27. So we got a Shabbat coming up, which will be in our count, right? We're counting weeks, not omers, which will be our second Sabbath complete in our count. We're doing 7. And then after that 7, we'll go through that new moon, which is another day, you guys. We can't just throw it away. It doesn't just disappear. We have to wait until we sight the new moon, the new month, right? And then we move into the next month, finish our count, which will be that first, it'll be the day 8 of month 3 will be the end of the 7 Sabbaths complete. And then we'll start the count for 50 days. And as you'll see, it'll take us to 102, 103, depending on if there's a 1 or 2 day new moon. And so we can't know ahead of time because we have to witness the new moon. So if you don't recall, we're walking this out together. So again, this Shabbat coming up will be the second Sabbath complete, right? Which will be what? The 29th, here in just a couple of days. So shalom to you. Shalom, everyone over on YouTube. We'll see you in the next broadcast. May you hold bless you.